Kick me in the face! Get mad at me! Kill me! Come on! One more rep, go. Try it again. Now fight me harder! Harder!
So today, in the spirit of, well, kind of like my lower body day, but also chest and arms, I'm going to go over more of an educational video, like kind of my own experiences with certain types of exercises and stuff I've written down there. So you'll probably see me look down here. But anyway, so my top exercises for lower body. This will involve like abs, down, you know, those kinds of things. And yeah, we'll get straight into it. So everyone's favourite, because it's in the front of the body, quads. Quads, I like to separate them into more hypertrophy exercises and then to, you know, your strength-based exercises, because I do both, because I'm kind of like a pseudo power builder kind of person. I like to be strong, but I also like to be, you know, have a load of muscle. So it's kind of like I do both. So, you know, my muscles get stronger and bigger. It's all up to you, really, what you want. I have a, you know, personal preference towards that because I've found more success by, you know, getting stronger, but also bigger. And I find it's definitely good for, you know, natural bodybuilding, blah, 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 you know. But anyway, on to the first exercise. Is my personal favourite if I were to give it to somebody who, you know, genuinely wants some quads, and if they ask me what's the best quad exercise, I'd tell them this, which is squats. Squats specifically in the way that if it's Smith, barbell, you know, those kinds of things. I'm not much of a fan of goblet squats because I believe it's a bit too much of a, you know, limiting factor and stuff. I'm not a big fan of it. But when it comes to Smith and, you know, barbell squats, it's more or less the heel is higher than the foot, than the rest of the foot. So you put a plate underneath, or you get squat shoes like I have. But that's because of my limiting range of motion. Hence why when you put a plate underneath, you can go a lot deeper because your body, even if it's less flexible, can go all the way down and then you can go back up. This stretches all of the quad, apart from one other one, which is, of course, the, you know, the extending muscle, which is the rectus femoris. It doesn't really get that stimulated too much, but it does use all of the quad technically in every quad movement. But certain movements, you know, impact certain bits of the muscle at different, you know, points. But if you definitely want that like teardrop, you know, Tom Platz kind of thing, I'd say this is definitely the, you know, exercise for you. And you can replicate on leg press and hack squat. Just try and like point your feet outwards like that and try and get them as close together. It definitely gets that, you know, whatever teardrop muscle it's called. I can't remember, or I haven't even done it. But yeah, I'd definitely say that's one of my favourites if I were to give it to somebody and they wanted, you know, some big meaty quads. I don't do them yet because I squat mainly. And I do have my, you know, elevated shoes. So, and plus I squat for different reasons. And, you know, it's all up to you whether if you squat for power or, you know, something else. But anyway, on to another hypertrophy movement is single leg press. The reason I say single leg press is because not only can you just like whack on probably 1 or 2 plates and it just be like enough, but, you know, with single leg, you can focus more on, you know, one leg at a time. Now with double leg, you can kind of get limited by either your stomach or other factors, right? Meanwhile, with single leg, you can literally move your body to the side and literally let your leg go down to probably where your your titties. So by lowering it down slowly and then pushing straight up, I believe it definitely helps. And you'll be able to see in this, particular video that I pushed my friend through this. What I do is single leg, double leg, but that's just a preference. And mainly because my teardrop muscle, blah, 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 don't really get stimulated that often. I tend to, do that just in order to kind of stimulate a bit more. So yeah, I definitely recommend single leg press because, you have that flexibility option and also you get to focus on each leg. Similar with leg extension, I prefer single leg extensions unless you're probably the weakest person I've seen. I think you can do single leg extension pretty much no problem because I'm pretty sure an average leg extension goes down to probably 1 kilo or something. So I think you'll be very much fine with just, using one leg. It's similar concept to the single leg press, as in you're focusing on each leg at one time, but also what I want you to do is like push the seat a bit further back, so you're more or less stretching that rectus femoris muscle, which I mentioned before, and that's the muscle that extends your knee and everything. So when you're in that position, just the extension bit, it really targets that one muscle, and that's why leg extensions are essential if you want to build some good quads. Because all I see people doing sometimes is just leg extensions. I get it. You can get some good growth from leg extensions, but you won't get the full growth. You need full range of motion with squats, leg press, and then leg extension. Because without the presses and without the extensions, you won't get the full muscle. You have to hit at different angles because the quadricep is 4 muscles. 4 muscles together that do one thing. So by doing these presses, by doing the squats, by doing the extensions, you're able to target those kinds of, muscles altogether. Now, onto more or less power quad movements, if you can call it that. These are ones that I've used and some of my friends have used. So I'll start off with everyone's most dreaded exercise, which is the split squat. Split squat can be defined by either having your heel up at the back. So basically, I'll put up a video of me doing them right here. That's a split squat, Bulgarian split squat. I have it, my feet elevated just so I can go further and deeper. And then there's an elevated split squat where you can, I'll try and find the video, but it's that this powerlifter guy, he uses an extended platform or just on his front foot and then just shoots off from there. That's more or less like just, power from where he's weakest. He swears by it and I believe him. It looks pretty good as an exercise. So you can try it out if you really want to get that strength up and, get a good squat, because the guy that you just saw is pretty good. He's in Team GB, probably, one of the best powerlifters. But split squat definitely should be in there. And now onto pause and tempo squats. Pause squats are just, you sit at the bottom for let's say 2 seconds. Keeps you comfortable in that bottom position, especially if you absolutely hate being at the bottom and you have more or less flexibility issues. By pause squatting, you can get deeper and it connects that, muscle connection to your brain to go lower and keep it there and then up. It also helps with strength with, your tendons and stuff like that. And I'd say I preach by it because I am using it in this video anyway. So I like them, but it doesn't work for everybody. But I'd definitely say for most people, it's definitely a must if you're going for strength. Now onto tempo. Tempo is where you slowly go down. My friend has described as utter torture, which, it will help you get stronger, especially if you don't want to sink your squat, which sinking the squat's just where you go bang, like basically a slut drop. We know a guy like that. I definitely do. So by using tempo squats, it's just like, you know, it just adds to, it's like tempo bench, you know, it's able to carry that and control that weight for such a long period of time and, you know, be able to boost back up. So it's all about that control and, you know, inevitably strength will come. Now on to hamstrings, which everyone's favourite because no one fucking sees them. Of course, I am a big hamstring person, not physically, but, you know, I'm a big preacher of doing your hamstrings. I definitely say RDLs are probably one of your best because it's the stretch part, it gets in the stretch position, and I'd definitely say it works. I mean, I do more strength RDLs than anything. And, you know, it varies between day, but, you know, I see myself getting stronger, see my deadlift getting stronger, you know, those kinds of things. So by implementing RDLs, it not only makes your hamstrings stronger, they make them bigger. And, you know, I'd say they're pretty fun when you get at least a bit decently strong at them. Now on to leg curl, which is like just getting your hamstrings in the Sean position. Fairly simple, you know, and definitely a movement for hypertrophy because, you know, you may not see your hamstrings, but it'll definitely add to your leg mass. And, you know, if you're looking for a good aesthetic physique, you'll need some decent legs, especially from the back. You don't want that, you know, BBL and then it'd be like, you know, just skinny and bone, because I know a lot of lifters have that kind of condition. But making that hamstring nice and, you know, nice and big, as well as your quads, brings out that, you know, X frame that a lot of people are looking for. Now on to more power based, you know, hamstring exercises. Stiff leg deadlift or RDL. So like stiff leg deadlift is basically where you deadlift without, like, you know, bending your knees. You like hold it. Bearing in mind, if you are, you know, vulnerable to certain, you know, let's say a tear of your hamstring, I won't recommend, you know, stiff leg deadlift, as it may, you know, hurt you in some ways. I know a lot of people have done that. Or good mornings. Good mornings are good for hypertrophy if you're, you know, if you're kind of scared of RDLs and, you know, the lack of stiff leg deadlifts. I'm more of a person that hasn't had that yet, so by doing these I'm able to get stronger and stuff. But if you've had previous injuries and stuff, I'd definitely see a doctor or something about, you know, the exercises you should be doing. But I'd definitely say for power, I like, you know, the stiff leg deadlift because it activates your hamstrings and also increases your deadlift. Now on to pause deadlifts. These are for, you know, well, it technically involves your whole body, but it's kind of a hamstring movement anyway. So basically you pause at your knees. So you basically do a deadlift as, you know, normal, pause at your knees and then go straight back up. So basically you pause at your knees for like, 1 second and then you go back up. It's as simple as that. I'd say when my deadlift was absolute ass, definitely helped me getting stronger. I don't do it anymore, but that's just because my deadlift has been fairly okay until recently. So, you know, it's all, you know, good practice and stuff to add those things in. Now onto, I've put others because, you know, technically adductors are kind of separate, but adductors are very good if you are either a sumo squatter, sumo deadlifter. And yes, sumo deadlifts count, because I'm a conventional person. I hate sumo with a passion. Just doing it is uncomfortable. But respect to those who can actually, you know, sumo deadlift, because I hate it. But with adductors, by getting strong adductors, it's like strong stabilizers of your legs, so you'll be able to squat more, deadlift more, you know, etc. And also make your quad look, or make your leg from the front and back look wider. So who doesn't want some wide ass legs? Now on to, you know, every woman's favorite, which is the buttocks. And basically there's 3 movements that I'd probably give someone if I was, you know, say, giving them a recommendation. It'd be hip thrust, probably to, you know, get... I mean, hip thrusts are, you know, probably your best bet, especially when it comes to getting strong and stuff. If you are fairly weak as a person, just go onto the machine one. And if you do have a machine one, there's always barbells. They're fairly easy to put on. They have pads to protect your pelvis, you know, those kinds of things. And sometimes people like to, you know, do an exercise before they do like more of a compound, which I'd consider, if you're doing barbell hip thrusts, use it as more of a compound movement, which I might talk about in a different video. If it's recommended or people want that, I can always talk about that as well. But say if you did abductors, which is basically doing that, spreading your legs, trying to get them, you know, glutes activated, you could do those before and then go on to hip thrusts, gets a bit more, you know, stimulation, shall we say. And abductors are basically just essential, you know, it activates the glutes at the sides, so gets that gluteus maximus, so it's definitely one of them. So if you want some, you know, well, they Death Star glutes, like Death Star delts, Death Star glutes, then do those. And then there's kickbacks, of course, you know, basically just kicking backwards, activating your glute, of course. And yeah, I'd say those are pretty much the 3 for glutes, really, that I'd recommend to someone if they wanted to grow their cheeks. Then we're on to calves. Something I always skip out on because I think my legs are fairly small, so I'd rather, you know, upgrade my, you know, quads and hamstrings and then move on to, you know, actually improving my calves. But with calves, fairly simple. There's nothing really to it. If you have a calf raise machine, cool. Either way, you know, either calf raise machine does the same thing. Basically, you're on your tiptoes, your foot's going like that. Just remember the bottom range of motion is the most important as you're getting that stretch. And yeah, it's pretty much all for legs. For abs, it's very much different because if you're trying to get defined abs, cardio is probably your best bet because, you know, you're burning all that body fat, you're able to see them. But also if you're trying to like strengthen them, I'd recommend like holds, like V-sits, L-sits, you know, planks, stuff like that definitely will contribute to your core stability and strength. Now for probably, you know, more strength as well, but also maybe a bit of hypertrophy. You know, there's ab crunches, so weighted ones, there is machines, there's stuff that you can do with like a, you know, a dumbbell, stuff like that. Those definitely will help with like your hypertrophy and strength of your abs. So yeah, really, that's pretty much my top recommendations for the lower half. I'll do the top half in the next video. I'm only doing the lower half first because I'm technically doing leg day today. So, you know, I will, you know, do in a different video where it's pretty much upper body. But yeah, overall, you know, if you have any questions or, you know, if you think something's different, then leave a comment. But anyway, we'll get into chest and arms first, which is just like, you know, strength and a bit of hypertrophy. Then legs, as leg day, you know, strength and hypertrophy. And I will talk through it for you. Now, let's get into the video. So starting off the, well, chest and arm day, if you want to call it that, with some
tempo bench. So probably wondering, if you haven't watched me before, what the belt is for. It's just to keep my ass on the bench, because I have a big tendency of lifting my ass off, and it just takes away that, you know, that factor away without me just like chronically thinking about it. Because I can do these weights without a belt and probably, you know, do it with my ass on the bench. It's just like there just in case, not only to just get used to as well. But you know, inevitably I will get up to you know, some weights that will probably involve me putting on a belt for bench. And I remember from my previous times of actually benching, you know, let's say 140, 145, and my ass came off the bench, and also I had a bit of, you know, back pain afterwards, because I basically used my legs too much, and I dragged myself into the bench, kind of squishing my spine. So I'm not going to do that ever again, and hopefully adding the bench will not only add stability, but, you know, take away that element of, you know, the back pain after, you know, doing some benching and stuff like that. But it's all a matter of preference. I like having it as like not only a mental thing, but also, you know, a physical thing. People may look at you weird, but, you know, I'm not really bothered about them. I'm bothered about my bench, you know, being near enough perfect as I can get it and as strong as I can get it. So that's my goal. So I will bench with a belt on regardless, but when it came to the sets, it was fairly okay, and yeah, just pushed myself a bit further like you do usually. Now onto some incline press, you know, just a regular incline press, nothing really, you know, new or anything like that. Just adds to the bench volume, you know, just and also strengthening the front delts, because incline strengthens like your clavicle and your major pectoral, but also when it comes to like your front delts, which is like, you know, very, very important, especially after I've had an injury such as, you know, injuring my rotator cuff. And by having stronger shoulders, especially in the pressing motion, I'll be able to avoid that injury in future, which is always great. And yeah, but it basically adds a bit more difficulty, because you know, incline is a lot more difficult than flat, but also adds to more bench volume, which can, you know, increase your bench and stuff like that. And you know, I like it. Even though sometimes I like to be on incline dumbbells, but at my gym it only goes up to 50, which isn't really that far, especially for some people. But you know, I won't be on the dumbbells for a long time, because still need to be cautious of my arm and stuff, especially when I'm, you know, I do mixed martial arts as well, which also puts in very vulnerable positions. So, but anyway, thanks to this guy behind me, I was able to do some skull crushes, because my friends weren't in to help me with you know, the lift off and stuff. I only do that because, yet again, it's sort of like I have to throw it over myself, and that does involve, you know, my rotator cuff and stuff. So, you know, I'd rather, you know, be more risk adverse when it comes to, you know, my rotator cuff. But I did decently well with 52 kilos, so went fairly well. You know, I'm getting there, you know, my triceps are getting stronger, and hopefully I'll be able to, you know, skull crush 60 kilos, which is the goal with this. So, but anyway, onto more hypertrophy movements. We're on to the shoulders, specifically the side delt, primarily because you know, I've just done my front delt technically with you know, doing the whole incline press. And now onto just side delts, which I tend to find if you use a cable, it's way better than dumbbells, but that's a matter of preference. But overall, when it comes to my shoulders, I'm fairly blessed in the rear delt department, so I don't really need to isolate those for more size and stuff. So I mainly go for my side delts, which give me that the big shoulder look, which is what I'm kind of going for, but also I'd rather have strength and aesthetics. So by adding big shoulders, I'm more aesthetic, but also when it comes to having big shoulders, you have very strong shoulders, so it's able to go into both worlds, which is the best bit. But you'll see me do flat 3 sets of just like normal one weight, and then I'll drop set it on for my 4th one. For side delt, I typically have a bit more volume than some of my others, but overall I just need one movement for this. It's not really I need to do certain movement whatever. It's just like one movement and it does the job, so I'm not really bothered on especially when it comes to like cables. As long as I have one, then it's fine. Like I prefer the double, it's kind of like a Y raise, but if there's only one available, I'm not very fussed. I'll be able to get in the work anyway. But yeah, I definitely say my shoulders are one of my strongest parts, so it's not really anything, but I'm trying to increase the intensity now that my arms are now catching up, so hopefully in the future, big arms and big everything, hopefully. So yeah, I just think I'm quite blessed in the shoulder region, but I'm definitely gonna up the intensity now that my arms have caught up. But next we'll be doing like preacher on a bench, so it's just like slanted bench, just curling and stuff. Technically this day is just a bit of hypertrophy because it's more of a strength day, just primarily just to do my accessories and be able to bench more, but also get the stuff that may need a bit more work, because you've been watching my videos, I don't really have the biggest arms in the world, so doing some skull crushers for like sort of pseudo strength and size, but also going for more preacher curls and stuff definitely adds to my arm size and stuff. But anyway, that's pretty much all for this section, and you'll get to enjoy the rest of the workout and a bit of the posing, which you'll be able to see and stuff.
You want them pants to rip from the sheer amount of size in your quad. Let's go. Oh yeah. Yeah. Let's go. Come on. Yeah. Don't walk out of this gym a loser. Let's go. One more. Yeah. Now double leg. Control that shit. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's go. 5 more. 5 more. Let's go. I want to see you shit your guts out.
So starting off with pause squats to start the leg workout. Just a measly 165 kilos, especially after this week's squat session. Felt pretty strong, felt pretty flexible in my hip flexors, so I decided to go a bit higher. It's like just progressively overloading and shit. And then went down to 150, which is a usual weight that I do. I'm just trying to get faster, and because it's more like technique, perfection, really. This so by using pause squats to be more, not only more comfortable in the bottom position, but also throughout the entire movement. It'll definitely make a difference to if you integrate these into your workout, and I like them. It makes me stronger, makes me more controlled on my lifts, and it's, you also need like time for your technique and stuff, so especially when you have like a heavy day and a lighter day. So that's kind of like my lighter day. I don't really want to go full intense, but it's just like the building blocks to my squats, and inevitably going up. So that's kind of like where I'm trying to aim for. So but anyway, on to more other things like RDLs. So RDLs helping me with deadlifts, but also getting a bit of hypertrophy or whatever. Fuck, I can't speak, but hypertrophy on the hamstrings. They're always very, very, very good for just average hamstring stuff. And I like them. Like I said in this video, I like them. I mean, stiff leg deadlifts are also an alternative, but they definitely help when it comes to getting stronger on deadlift, but also increasing hamstring size and stuff. But anyway, onto another strength-based movement, my Bulgarian split squat. Yes, I do wear a belt. That's just to save my back from absolute pain, but also this movement's more of a stability strength movement, so it's the only reason why I do Bulgarians. It's for like stability and stuff, and also physio reasons, because I injured my leg last year. I injured my hip flexor, which wasn't very fun, and only recently have I managed to get back to somewhat more normality, so I don't want that happening again. So by doing these Bulgarians, I'm able to not only help with my squat, but also help with my stability, and also help stretch out my hip flexors and stuff. So it's just there for strength based, yes, but also stability and stretching out those things that not many. Well, I only have like a couple dumbbells at my house, so I can't really stretch in my house when it comes to like this, but it's certainly doing its job anyway, so I'm not very fussed. But anyway, on to leg press. Me and my friend Captain Pisstain himself were pushing ourselves. We were absolutely pushing ourselves on these sets, so you'll be able to see. I mean, you saw before, I was motivating him. We're just saying the same shit, trying to push our legs to the absolute limit of what they're capable of. So Plus it was a lot of fun. So that's the thing about leg day, it's very rarely fun. But when you try and torture each other, you know, I'd say it's a lot more fun. But yeah, I also do like a drop set at the end. So like you can see how you have a 10 and a 15 plate. Captain Pistain will pull off the 10, and then I go for the, you know, what is it, 80 kilos on the sled. So yeah, I prefer this kind of way of training because, one, I don't want to load up the fucking leg press, you know, with loads of 25s, because leg press is fairly easy to do. But also, you know, I want to, you know, focus on each leg because I feel like that will get the most results. But also adding that portion of like the double leg where my feet are angled out a bit, and I can get, you know, that teardrop muscle that I was talking about in the video. But yeah, it's because with my squat form, I don't really, I'm a very wide squatter. I'm not a, you know, narrow stance person, but that's just because of how comfortable it is for me. So it rarely gets my, you know, like teardrop muscle and stuff. So by adding this in, I'm also effectively doing the other muscles, but also again the muscle that I'm probably weakest in. So it's just adding to that. But overall, it's up to preference with leg press and stuff like that, because some people, you know, some people's bodies are different, and mine's pretty different to my friend here. But I mean, he has similar sized legs without even training them, so I don't know, it might be just a thing. But I don't really have the greatest leg genetics, I will admit. I won't, you know, say anything about that, but you know, I have good strength genetics in my legs, but not like, you know, anything major in terms of muscle mass and stuff like that, because yeah, I think if you've seen my legs, they're not, well, when I like show the rest of my body alongside my legs, it's kind of like, oh, it's kind of there, but you know, I have very high inserting legs, which doesn't really, you know, look as good as some other people's. But I do try my best when it comes to you know, trying to increase the volume of my legs, and you know, trying to push myself, because no matter your genetic standpoint, you should always push yourself. You shouldn't like think, oh, my genetics are going to limit me. No, they're not. Only your effort is going to limit you. And I can say that from my own personal experience, because I will say this, I don't have the greatest genetics in the world. I don't have the, you know, David Leeds or, you know, Hussein genetics. Yeah, I don't have those. But I do have the effort, I do have the willpower to, you know, push forward and try and get the best physique I possibly can. And that's the whole reason why I've managed to get to this point. I don't have insane strength genetics, I don't have insane muscle building genetics. I just have, you know, fairly decent genetics, and I can push myself. That's the whole reason why I am doing this, because I can push myself. But anyway, onto some hamstring curls. Fairly simple. Getting the rest of the hamstrings. You're probably thinking, why didn't you do quads straight afterwards? It's because my gym only has one of these machines, and it's either wait around for that said machine or go straight onto a different one, which I choose to go straight onto a different one, primarily because you know, I don't want to waste time. I'm not much of a person who likes to waste time, because I don't have much of it. Because if you think about it, you don't have much time on this planet, so you might as well put the fucking effort in and, you know, get the best results you can. Because yeah, I'm not going to be waiting around 30 minutes doing fuck all so I can just get on a machine. I'll do something alternate, or, you know, wait around 10 minutes, that's it, and do something alternate. It's just like, I don't want to be wasting my time, so I just do what I do. So yeah, hamstrings, I think they're going fairly well. There's nothing real. I'm too high of a body fat percentage to even really see them. I can see a bit of them when I flex. It's just like you need to be like a lot leaner than I am right now. So one day I'll do a cut anyway, so I'll be able to see those hamstrings eventually. But anyway, onto some quad extensions, single leg, as I always say. I prefer it because I can focus on each leg, and also just a matter of preference because, you know, some people like double leg primarily because, you know, they're not as strong in, you know, legs, but I like it. I like doing single leg because it allows for that, you know, single focus on said leg, but also like putting your like seat backwards a bit, as I've said, you know, it stretches out that rectus femoris muscle in the quad, and also, you know, it feels way better, trust me. And, yeah, I'd say it's fairly decent with, you know, if you consider doing legs at all, I mean, they shouldn't be even like a question of if you should have them in, because leg extensions are essential, and if you skip them, you're a pussy. So, but after these I'll be doing some adductors mainly for stability, but also, you know, increase the volume of my legs. So like from the front they just look a lot bigger. So, but time will tell, because I've only been doing adductors for you know, only a month, so I'd definitely say only time will tell. And yeah, but anyway, that's all for me today. Enjoy the rest of the video, and thank you very much, and consider liking and subscribing.
I don't talk about it, I just spit it at the basic. You never really want to be the one to have to run, I'll turn and face it. These are the rappers that you beat, they fucking hate when they tell. I came for nothing, now they just can't keep my name out their mouth. Would've been one time for the remix, motherfucker really wanna see me. Scheme it, motherfucker really dream it, coming out the gun, I'm me. Sing it for the dark, I'm shaking, sink it to the deep, I'm sinking. Fuck that, let's get back, cause motherfucker really wanna swing. The fucking take, yo, to the fucking G. But in the distance, if you run your bitches, raise the pace. My baby tripping, keep it tucked until they think I'm sweet. Coming up out of the underground, don't pass this shit over to me.
Okay, sit on the throne of my enemy, balls better watch it up. So what the fuck is you telling me? Niggas in Paris, I watch it up, throwing on my energy, telling me, get em, first and forward with the lies, prize, it's okay, let it every pillow. Musical chillin', this bitch, me sit on like Pittsburgh, get the bitch, look, still on Sandman, Spider-Man, Dr. Who I am, venom, not lost, chrome hearts, crosses, all my denim, yo.
I don't talk about it, I just spit it at the basic. You never really want to be the one to have to run, I'll turn and face it. These are the rappers that you beat, they fucking hate when they tell. I came for nothing, now they just can't keep my name out their mouth. Would've been one time for the remix, motherfucker really wanna see me. Scheme it, motherfucker really dream it, coming out the gun, I'm me. Sing it for the dark, I'm shaking, sink it to the deep, I'm sinking. Fuck that, let's get back, cause motherfucker really wanna swing. The fucking take, yo, to the fucking G. But in the distance, if you run your bitches, raise the pace. My baby tripping, keep it tucked until they think I'm sweet. Coming up out of the underground, don't pass this shit over to me.
Okay, sit on the throne of my enemy, balls better watch it up. So what the fuck is you telling me? Niggas in Paris, I watch it up, throwing on my energy, telling me, get em, first and forward with the lies, prize, it's okay, let it every pillow. Musical chillin', this bitch, me sit on like Pittsburgh, get the bitch, look, still on Sandman, Spider-Man, Dr. Who I am, venom, not lost. Chrome hearts, crosses, all my denim, yo. Like a back of my ain't a freak, like I'm quarterback, I need a beat. Like the Kenny, I am a geek, yo.
They don't really fuck with the ones like us, and they don't see us as a threat, so we overcome. We tell them, boy, you out of luck, cause the clock has struck, and we gon' come to take the throne, man, your time is up. They don't really fuck with the ones like us, and they don't see us as a threat, so we overcome. We tell them, boy, you out of luck, cause the clock has struck, and we gon' come to take the throne, man, your time is up.